This is the first memory I have of this life. I woke up one morning and I noticed that my pants are wet. I was shocked that I wet myself. I jumped out of bed and my feet hit the ground way before they were supposed to, and then I was in a little body. I was shocked. I knew that I had been killed in my past life, that the worst thing that happened could have happened. So I woke up from a past life. That sets the tone of my life. But you gotta remember, I was in a Christian church where we're forbidden to study other practices, other religions, other traditions. It was an attempt by man to become God, and that's strictly forbidden by the Bible. There's only one God, and we worship him. So this attempt to become a superhuman or a God was evil. About 1983, I was selling interconnection technology, and one of my clients was a civilian employee of the Los Angeles Police Department. He was an OT7. He introduced me to Scientology, told me that Scientology could help me with past lives. He was the first person who didn't invalidate me or look askance at the idea of past lives. He didn't laugh or say it's demonic. He actually said, Scientology can help you with that. Jeffrey Augustine, with my beautiful wife in our home, Los Angeles, California.
My name is Karen de la Carriere. I am a Top Gun Thomas Kincaid art dealer.
He's the most popular selling painter in history. Born in 1958, died in 2012. One of my clients is a retired chief of police. He even dealt in a triple homicide. Blood, spatter, gore, 25 years. Hard-nosed homicide detective. When he goes home at night, he wants to see beauty. He wants to have some Kincaids, a glass of wine with his life. Thank God that he lived through another day without taking a bullet. He wants beauty. He doesn't want confrontation with whatever is out there through a piece of art. So for him, his home is a retreat, a sanctuary, and Kincaid honors the spirit of his home, his marriage, his family. Conversely, Karen and I sell beauty all day, so sometimes at night we watch detective shows about murder, And it's an interesting contrast, I think.
I do believe I'm a spirit. And I will leave the body will get cremated. I don't like the idea of rotting and decomposing, and cremation is good. And then I will go visit some great beaches and parks with wolves, Yellowstone Park. I will just float around, and then I'll make a decision of what I want to do. I have great purpose in my soul to help animals. I should have been a vet, an animal abuse. So if I come back, I will really choose a destiny where I am helping animals. I already know what I'm going to do next life. If I'm back, I will change the laws on cruelty to animals and puppy farms and puppy mills and slaughter of animals. Oh yes, an animal is just a spirit with an animal body, a bird body or a dog body or a cat body. Mm-hmm.
We're all spirits here. You're not your body. You're a spirit. You're you, and your body is just part of you, this thing that you're running.
And you go from one life to the next. You keep this mind. You don't lose it. You don't lose any of these memories. They're stored in your mind permanently, and you bring them from life to life.
Stress, losses, sadnesses, black, glum areas. Let's say a very abused childhood, or losing a beloved dog, and one just can't get over the loss of this friend, the dog.
Things are just getting worse and worse and worse. L. Ron Hubbard came here to reverse the downward spiral. He was supposed to put the Scientology technology on this world, on this planet, and then leave and go.
Woo! Laura's my first name. Laura Megan Anderson. My mom and dad made Scientology their core agreement for their relationship and marriage and life. We were kids in the Sea organization. We were adults in small bodies, which makes sense to me, and so I did sign a billion-year contract. I was 4 years old, and I had like a red Crayola crayon.
We lived on a ranch, on a farm, and the location was very confidential, very secret. 6:30 was our wake-up time. Everybody basically 30 minutes to do, to clean up the room, get dressed, get ready. We had a 7 o'clock muster. And then it was our studies. I did do one particular process which kind of required you to go past life. I remember being in session and the auditor saying, "What's that right there? I see something." Some dark dungeon in a castle. And some guy being interrogated. I think I was the guy being interrogated.
In front of me, she put a book that was called Past Life Security Check. So she opens this up for me, and I read a couple lines because it's questions like, have you ever destroyed a galaxy? Have you ever usurped a country? And I go, what's usurped? I don't know what that word means. So we get out the dictionary, as we do with proper Scientology study tech, and we read the definition together. And as soon as I read the definition, I just start bawling. And I'm not to be consoled. I get a flash of a picture, and it's of this big green grassy hill. And there's a fortress, a stone castle-like structure at the end, and I see the back of a black horse's mane. And then the course supervisor comes over, goes, "What are you guys reading?" Seeing me in hysterics, looks at the book, looks at the process, closes it, and hands us another one. It's like, you shouldn't be reading that, and put it away. The past lives definitely was something that drew me in very deeply.
When we were at the dining facility, one of the teachers, we had a sliding glass door, and she didn't realize it was closed, and she walked and bam into the aluminum frame is rattling, and it's really loud. Immediately, the entire place goes silent. When somebody gets injured, at the moment they get injured, any sound becomes recorded and it becomes part of the process that's holding you back. 80 kids are completely silent.
Tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story. Remember what you said? You promised me, you said you would. You gotta give in, so I'll be good. Tell me a story, and then I'll go to bed.
Lafayette Ronald Hubbard was born in 1911. He grew up in Montana. His mother taught him how to read. His father was in the Navy. He traveled all around the world on Navy ships, meeting people everywhere he went and learning about their lives. He was a student of life.
In the South Pacific, he studied the most primitive civilizations with the most ancient knowledge.
He learned that all minds respond identically to the same stimuli. In 1938, he wrote Excalibur, his first attempt to unify all knowledge and discover the meaning of existence. He said that the first 6 readers of Excalibur went insane. The 7th jumped out a window. World War II. He commanded a ship in the Navy, but he was badly injured. He lay in a hospital bed, and that's when it happened. He created a technology and he called it Scientology. He healed himself with Scientology, and he started healing other people too, and teaching them about how to do it themselves. He wrote it all down in a book called Dianetics.
My name is Joke Reeder. The New Horizons Academy was founded in 1999. We are a high school for ethical teens. Students arrive curled up. They're looking for the answer to life, the universe, and everything. When they come here, we first walk them around and just look. This is not a picture of a tree, folks. This is a real tree. Touch the tree. We extrovert them with games and trips outside. We feed them very good food, so they're not introverted in their tummies.
It is the servant of commoner and king alike, and should never be regarded with awe. Selfish scholars seldom forgive anyone.
We keep them away from excessive television, which is hypnotizing. We're out in the boonies for that very reason. You want to be severely off the crossroads of society because it will grab all the students' attention They watch the news and which is scraped up wrong things of the whole universe as if it's all happening in your backyard. They become deflated. They start to think things are bad, they're getting worse, especially where I live, because the news tells me so. So why would I reach? Why would I change anything? It's all hopeless. The greatest things that have truly brought society up were the product of individuals who came up with a new thing and a new way and the guts to go for it.
I'm David Gartrell. I'm a manuscripts curator and librarian here at UC Santa Barbara Library. The Church of Scientology here is under the spiritualist, psychic, and New Age family. We have LPs, journals, Scientology newspapers from the 60s, sound recordings, everything from cassettes, CDs, we have DVDs, pamphlets, brochures, ephemeral material. Selected works of L. Ron Hubbard, narrated by Yvonne Gilman. It's an LP of different L. Ron Hubbard aphorisms, read by the director of the Celebrity Center from the early 70s, from 1971. And here we have the dynamic music soundtrack of the book, Battlefield Earth, based on the #1 internationally best-selling book, music composed by L. Ron Hubbard.
Through the darkness, through the stars. Like, I was just like, whoa, it just seems so eternal, and like this one person did all this work, and that, and the lyrics are one man's vision, one man's dream. The beginning started off really soft and awesome and epic. Pages lost in darkness.
The last time I talked to him, there was an incredible sunset occurring. You know, sometimes the ocean gives, because the ocean reflects the sun going down, 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 and it's a Kodak moment. And I don't know why he went like this. Messengers would always hover around him as a firewall so that you didn't lunge an embarrassing question or something, like the messengers guarded him. But he shooed away the messengers. And we were talking about a specific counseling issue. And he looked out onto the sunset and he said, well, he talked about attacks. He decided to create his own kingdom where he didn't have to bow to any government regulations. So he created the Sea Organization. It was about 400 of us at any given time, going from port to port where Hubbard could do his research. Port after port after port kicked us out. There was something they didn't like about the ship. It gave them some sense of unease.
I walked in and he said, well, to what do I owe this, whatever. I wasn't supposed to be there, and there was a lot of, nobody should disturb the Commodore was a general direction that you were supposed to follow. But we just started talking. And he said, well, what can I do for you? I said, I'd sort of like to join the Sea Org. And he says, well, why is that? I said, I'd like to help you. And that was the start of my new best friend forever, L. Ron Hubbard.
I found him to be a man of great presence. You felt you were in the presence of someone extraordinary. And he was larger than life. One of the engineers that worked in the bowels of the ship, he ran down the corridors of the ship threatening to kill Hubbard. He was threatening he would stab Hubbard 122 times with knives in the kitchen of the ship. And the executives of the ship wanted to just head for port, get rid of him. But Hubbard said, no. If we claim to be masters of the mind, and we have all the answers to baggage and case and aberration, we have to put our money where our mouth is and cure him first. And we were all electrified.
Wherever Hubbard was over the rainbow.
LRH would create an island of sanity. The island of sanity that would ripple and spread out.
Clearwater is a beautiful city, and where you go to classes and where you get auditing. I love it here. The beaches are beautiful. The community is wonderful. It's a great place to raise a family. Clearwater is pretty much owned by Scientology.
Whenever you have a church with a lot of branches all over, you will always get some people that walk in the door that are quite dysfunctional, sometimes suicidal, desperate, damaged human beings. Send them to Clearwater. We'll get rid of your major aberrations and your major downfall.
To be continually in motion and doing things at a fast pace. Because as soon as you have time to think, that's when your mind can wander. That's when lack of focus can come into it. And that was one thing that it was very good for me, and that Scientology seems to have like a grasp on, is keeping people out of their heads.
They put me in the ethics division. It's like the scary division, because they are the ones who put your ethics in if you are doing anything that's not okay. For example, and this comes up a lot, it would come up all the time, was masturbating. Older men and women that would have to come in, and I'd have to write them a program and an ethics program to fix whatever, you know, based off of their overts and withholds that they've written, once they get a floating needle, then you go and handle those overts. So I would write a program for them to fix these things that they did. And I wasn't very experienced in the whole like masturbating thing, because that was obviously not allowed in my whole childhood and whatever. So I was just kind of like, all I knew to do was tell them they had to read this policy, and it was about what happens when you masturbate and what's going on in your reactive mind and things like that. So I was like, you need to read that and fully understand it. Which, by the way, if you see in any organization where this policy letter is in, the book is completely stained, like from so many people having to reread that policy letter because there's so much masturbation going on. My dad got in trouble, didn't do his job properly or something. He was on the rehabilitation project force for about 8 years, so I didn't see him the whole time during that. It's work, 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 study, 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 auditing, sleep, get up, work, 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 nonstop. Sometimes I actually would see him running by, and I would be like, Dad! And he'd be like, oh, and he'd be like, hey, it's my daughter, you know, kind of just, can I get away? And they run everywhere they go, so it was just magical. I'd drive by and see my dad running around the corner. And so we'd be like, oh, hi, you know, hug each other. Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Weird number.
Yeah, well, it's an office. It's not off. It's an empty office. Weird number.
Oh, okay. Empty office, weird number.
Yeah. Okay, so are you ready to receive some calm and receive it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, look, here's the thing. Like, I'm like torqued, okay? I'm upset right now. I'm going to restrain a lot of things that I have to say. I'm not even going to get into that. Here's my simple upset, okay? You just need to come in and see the ethics officer and sort out your originations and your viewpoints. That's the correct thing.
I don't have
Okay?
any originations or viewpoints.
Okay.
I don't even want to talk
that's
about
what
it.
you need to do. That's what you need to do. So you will be contacted, and you will be asked to do that.
I understand why there is an upset. I understand, and this is what I said. I spoke to the person because I needed to know. I found out what their disagreement was, and I understand why the organization isn't okay with it and why they violated whatever their agreement was to the organization. And you wrote a report on me saying I contacted a suppressive person.
That's right.
So anyways, all that makes me feel is that I tried to have a really close conversation with my father, and that close conversation turned into a Sea Org member.
See, what you just said is pretty vile, okay? Pretty vile.
Vile? Why?
Below the belt.
What's below the belt? What do you
Because
mean?
it's condescending and degrading, okay?
What's condescending?
I can't have a conversation with my father. I have a conversation with a Sea Org member. It's vile and condescending and
Wait,
foul.
hold on. I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I'm willing to have that type of calm.
I didn't say that. I said I was trying to have a I was trying to talk to you as you being my father and I'm your daughter. I was bringing up stuff, upsets I had talked to you about the ranch, and And then that somehow turned into a report. I didn't say that you became a SEER member and you weren't my father. I'm saying I was trying to have a father relationship. And that made it just felt that when the report that I'm calling in on was written by you, it's just all that sincerity that I wanted to have with you feels like you didn't duplicate any of it.
I obviously love you dearly as my daughter, and you know that. Look, your life is your life. What you do with your life is up to you. You know, you're a being, you're a spiritual being. You're not just like a one lifetime person. So, you know, we happen this lifetime to be a father-daughter little kind of game going, you know? But, you know, you've been parent, and you've been a daughter and a son, and all kinds, whether it's real to you or not. The point is that is the isness of it, okay?
Wait, so, what? I didn't get that last part.
I just said that is the reality of it, that's all. It's just the way that it is. So where do we go from here?
I don't know, Dad. I mean...
all we need to do is that we need to take responsibility for one's actions and one's decisions. Like, that's all I can tell you. I'm willing to take responsibility at my end. I need you to take responsibility at your end. You're the one that's now stating you're not going to abide by the church policy or the agreements of the church.
Yeah.
Okay? That's your decision.
Great.
And so there's some consequences that go with that.
What are what?
Well, you need to read them.
Why do I need to read them? I need to read them again so I can be threatened like, hey, your dad has to go.
Stop that. Just stop those barbs.
What
okay?
barbs? Threaten? That's a barb for you? Threaten? Yeah, you're threatening me. You are threatening me, Dad. You're saying there's policies, and if you don't do them, then we're gonna have to take further action. That is threatening me.
Okay,
I would, you know what? You know how fucked up this conversation is I would never treat my daughter like this. When I have a baby, I'm gonna be, I hate it so much that it's like unbelievable. In the same way that you think I won't do it, it's so insane to me that you can't remember that you had me in this world. This is not your life, this is my life.
That's right. It is your life.
So where is your line of going, you know what? My daughter is allowed to do and be whatever she wants. She doesn't have to do, and nobody has to do anything in their lives.
I got it. My answer to you is this. You need to come in and see the ethics officer, okay? You just need to do that. And I'm never going to change that particular point because you need to do that.
L. Ron Hubbard considered Earth to be a prison planet, a hellhole prison planet. You keep having worse and worse lives, and you go down a spiral. And you keep getting worse and worse until soon you can't have a body and you become a rock. You could become a rock in space for billions of years. Out in inky black nothingness. But he found an exactly taped path out of the trap called the bridge to total freedom. So that's it in a nutshell. Scientology auditing will allow me to control my afterlife.
So I was pinholing one day. It's a pneumatic steel brush. Below the strake, there's a line, sort of the water line, I guess. It was just above where the water was. And I was on a raft, and somebody came jumping on the raft, and I went right down on my ankle, down to the bone. You know, it wasn't any major deal. But within one day, it got infected. And then it started getting gangrene because there was no antibiotics on board. And the MO was not, she didn't know anything about it. I knew more medicine than she knew. And what she used to do is just debride it every day, which would just scrape off the infection. And the green started coming up my leg, and it smelled like shit, and it smelled badly. And my foot got to be about the size of a watermelon, and there was just no help. I mean, there wasn't anybody who could help it. My wife at the time, Jeannie, that was the one who became Karen's friend later on, took me in and gave me an auditing session. And this is the absolute truth. 30 minutes later, this incredible pain, I mean, if you ever had that kind of injury, the pain is just unbelievable. This started dissipating. The infection started going down within about 1 day, and within 2 days, the swelling started going down.
The general theory of auditing is that you measure electrical resistance in the body. Now, L. Ron Hubbard said that this resistance was mental mass, or actually entities. You have a particular thing that's bothering you, and you run that in session until you achieve a phenomenon called the floating needle. One of the secrets of auditing is called spiritual erasure. Hubbard's concept that you can actually erase content from your head. It's gone.
People talk to psychiatrists and psychologists for years, and they seldom get better because it's all guesswork. It's just chatter. The meter directs the direction of where and what to ask. It's the first religion by electricity. Can you recall a time when you felt good affinity for someone? Good, excellent. What body position do you get in that incident? Can you recall the earliest time you can when you felt good affinity for another? Thank you. What taste do you get in that incident? We're talking about immortality. Not that you'll just get better this lifetime, but that your future, your immortality, will be much better, higher, more exhilarating, more causative, more powerful, more wisdom, futuristically.
When I was pregnant, I remember waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to move. I was frozen in fear for some reason. And I had this idea that there was somebody or something watching me or in the room, right? And so I was frozen with fear. And so I would ask a friend of mine the next day at work who is higher trained and in Scientology and has done a lot in Scientology. Her idea of what I was experiencing was spirits. And they wanted to take over the new body and occupy the body, right? Lifetime after lifetime. In Scientology, you do a quiet birth. No screaming, no drugs, at home. Just climbing the walls, no drugs. Of course, you're gonna be in pain and kind of screaming. I did the best I could.
I've had people in the church make comments to me that when they die, they'll be able to go pick up a body. And many of them say they don't want to go through childhood again. They want to go pick up a body that's 12 or 13 or 16 years old. That is, they want to walk in and take over another body and start their game as they are now. They'll drop this body, go inhabit another body. And could you imagine having the maturity of a, 55-year-old, 70-year-old person and going into a 16-year-old body? You could really do something.
Yeah, we were spanked. Because you're not your body. We're all spirits here. Your body is just part of you, this thing that you're running. So you should act no different than an adult would. One time it got really bad, and I got into this huge argument with Renee, this girl, the governess, which she was an adult. She was, I think, just turned 17, or maybe she was 16. She was way older than the rest of the kids, but she was very unintelligent. She couldn't get through any math books, or she couldn't get through any regular schooling, let alone the Scientology studies. She was just not very bright. I don't know, whatever. I don't know what's going on in her life. But, so they made her the governess group. So I would say she was one of the worst offenders that I didn't get along with. It was just because she was told to do it, those were her orders. So I don't think she's a bad person, and that's really hard for me to say to this day, because I've never spoken to her. But we didn't get along at all. So we got into it really bad one time, and I would just have these fits, and I would just be swearing, and every time I swore, she would just keep track of it. She was like, that's, 23, 24, and I was just like, fuck you. I was so upset, and it was at like 72 or something. And I remember one day, she had to spank me for each, so 72, it was 73 or 72, it doesn't matter, but each spanking was 3 slaps, bare butt. And she hit so hard. She would do the work with us sometimes because she was bored. We'd just be working, digging trenches and stuff. So she was really strong. She knew how to deal with us. And we were all kind of afraid of her because she could just pull us around and, whatever. So we'd have to listen to her. So to get in an argument with her, which I did, and I hated her. I just couldn't stand her. She couldn't be wrong no matter what. And probably in her eyes, I was the same way, So yeah, so one weekend and I don't know if my mom remembers this. I'm sure she does. I mean, it would take her a little minute to think about it, but she got off this bus And I was pushed aside, or not pushed aside, but it was like, you wait there. And I was just kind of like, oh, great. You know, the governess group the IC is gonna go tell my mom how horrible and bad I've been the whole week. And so they were like talking, and then my mom came over to me, and she was like, hi, honey. And I just felt her concern. She was like, what's wrong? Like, you know, how come I've heard, you know, whatever. And I just started bawling and bawling, and I couldn't tell her. I was like, I couldn't breathe. I was so upset. And then she brought me in, and I just pulled down my pants, and I showed her all the bruises, like the handprints on my butt. And I don't remember what happened after that. I think she just left. I think she went to go talk to, I don't know what happened, but I thought she left, and she like went to go talk to her or something. So I felt better about it. I don't know, it was weird. Anyways, yeah, that's still, and I feel bad for the girl because she probably feels bad today about it. But I don't know, I couldn't do that to my own kids if I had kids, you know? And that's what gets me the most. It's like, how does anybody treat a child like that? Like, if I had my own child, I would want to know, I would want to be so close with them. And for my mom to not, I don't know. Like, I guess, you know, it really ties into the whole Scientology thing. That's her purpose.
If you're inside and you understand it, it's magical. Does the shed blood of Christ forgive you of your sins? Absolutely. If you're a Christian, that's the foundational truth. If you're on the outside, you could be a skeptic and say people are yapping to an invisible sky god who had to murder his own son to redeem his own creation. So it's easy to pick apart a religion when you're on the outside. When you're on the inside as a believer, and that's what makes the difference. It becomes your reality.
The beach is not for Scientologists. You're too busy doing stuff. Because you're just too busy to care about the beach. The only time I got to really experience the Clearwater Beach is when I blew. We caught the trolley during lunchtime and went down to the beach. That was heaven. It was so weird. It was like, it was kind of dirty. Like, there were certain parts where it was kind of like, and at this point, I'd never drinking alcohol or anything like that. So it was like, I could smell the bars and like, smell the fish, like in the water, being that close. I was like, wow, this world is not how I ever, got a chance to see it, but how I ever would have imagined. The outside world, if I look outside and I see a bus driver, somebody who's not a Scientologist at all, I wonder, what is that bus driver doing? Why is he a bus driver? Why is he in the outside world loving his life so much being a bus driver? They gotta be like me. They gotta have something that's important to them. They gotta feel something that's making them do something that is the reason they're doing that, you know?